Welcome to Missouri Sports Talk. I'm your host, Cameron Staley. Today we've got large school predictions, classes 4, 5, and 6. That's sign language 6 right there. So, American Sign Language, by the way. 2 weeks ago was the last prediction video, and basically almost every game got wiped out because of cancellations from the snow. You guys know. So let's go ahead and speed through these past week's scores. I guess 2 weeks. I messed it up again, but Class 4 is on your screen as I'm ranting. Hallsville really put it on North Callaway 70-29, and Moberly beat Centralia 57-48. There was literally nothing else that went on. The other 4 games I had on the scoreboard did not happen. One of them that's on there, Maryville versus Mid-Buchanan, I am actually going to cover today. The rest of them were pushed way back, so the other 3 we won't talk about today. Orchard Farm and Clayton, definitely one that I will talk about. I think that's at the end of January. Central Casey and Benton, if they play, I will talk about it. I don't know. I don't think either of them have it on their Misha, so I don't know if it got canceled or pushed back, and neither of them have put it on their page or what. But those 3 I'll definitely talk about. Nevada and Mount Vernon, I have no clue when that game's going on. Probably we'll talk about it, but besides the point here. Class 5 from last week, we've got 3 games to talk about. MICDS and JC, I'm going to save for the last. Parkview beats Glendale 76-52. This is a good win for Parkview. I believe they made it to the Elite 8 last year. They lost to JC. Webb City loses to Nixa at home. I feel like this is kind of expected. Nixa sitting at 11-1. They're a real good basketball team this year. I want to go see them play. I'm not certain if I'll get the opportunity to see them play, but they're rolling right now. And JC versus MICDS, I wanted to save that one because that's the one that I went to on January 3rd. That was our Missouri Sports Talk game of the week. JC ended up losing that game 50-46. They were getting out-rebounded, out-physicaled that whole entire game. MICDS probably had as many offensive rebounds as JC had defensive rebounds, and that's pretty crazy. So I feel like MICDS played a really good game. They weren't really scoring that much, but they were getting those rebounds. They were getting those second chance opportunities, and that really impressed me. And they ended up winning 50-46. Class 6 from 2 weeks ago. As you can see here, 3 more cancellations. DeSmet and Helias was actually scheduled for the 6th, and they moved it back by 1 day. So they ended up playing on the 7th. DeSmet won that game 84-52. Lee Summit North beats a really good Staley team 50-46. And Central Springfield, they beat Carthage 61-50. That is a good win for the Bulldogs. Just now noticed that I left off Bulldogs on that. Was that an issue last time? I feel like I did that 2 weeks ago, and I noticed that, and then I never fixed it. So that's my bad. But let's go ahead and get to this week's predictions. Class 4 scoreboard on your screen. The only one that we're going to talk about that's happening tonight, Hallsville and Blair Oaks. This is tonight at Hallsville, 7:30. You know, Hallsville, they're a solid basketball team. I got to see them play Centralia. They won that game. They're looking really good. But there's just something about playing Blair Oaks. The Falcons are 22-4 matchup history against Hallsville since 2009. That is insane. I believe both of these teams are receiving votes in Class 4. But like I said, 22-4 since 2009, that's pretty crazy. So give me the Falcons. Mid-Buchanan is being hosted by Maryville. These are 2 okay basketball teams. I don't know. I don't really think either of them are particularly elite by chance. Mid-Buchanan is receiving votes in Class 3. Maryville is not receiving votes in Class 4 for the media polls. Which I just found out how that ends up working for the coaches' polls. I guess it's not really media polls, it's coaches' polls. There are 8 coaches per class that are like the correspondents for the polls. So there's 8 coaches, 8 Class 1 coaches that vote, 8 Class 2 coaches that vote, 8 Class 3 coaches, so on and so forth. So Mid-Buchanan receiving votes. There's a lot of issues in Class 3 this week. A lot of people not happy because Woodland was left out. They're the number 1 team in receiving votes, so technically they're the 11th ranked team. And Scott City is still in. They're sitting at 8. But Woodland has already beaten Scott City this year, so a lot of people are really angry about that. I stay out of it. I don't like to criticize a whole lot, but I guess that is kind of an issue a little bit. So a lot of people this week were taking shots at the NBCA and saying how their polls are irrelevant now. I was just kind of, sit back with the popcorn and watch people get angry. But I will take Mid Buchanan in this game. They're scoring 68.9 points per game. I believe they'll shoot their way to a win. St. John, they are playing Potosi. Potosi's just kind of different. They're really good. They're sitting at 10-2. They're 8th in Class 4 right now. 65 points per game. Only 46.3 allowed per game on average. That sits pretty well with me. I like it when a team is sitting under 50 points allowed per game. That's a really good thing. That means they either hold the ball really well or they got really good defense. I really hope that's good defense, because if you're holding the ball and still letting up 46 points per game, probably not a good thing. But I think Potosi's a really good basketball team. I think they win this one on the road. Those both were Friday night games. So on Monday, January 20th, is that MLK Day, I believe? Clayton versus Lutheran North. That's going to be my Class 4 game of the week. I really think that one's going to be fun. Clayton, they're sitting at 6-0 via their MISHA page. I think there's a lot of games that they haven't entered. Same thing with Lutheran North. They're listed as 1-0 on their MISHA page. I think both those teams have played multiple games besides that. But I'm going to take Clayton here. They're sitting at 5th in Class 4. 72 points per game, allowing 44.8 points per game. They're looking good this year. Dexter versus Puxico. You guys know how much I like Puxico. They just picked up another win this week. They're sitting at 13-1. Dexter 7-7. I think Puxico wins this one, sitting at 3rd in Class 2. 67.8 points per game. They're playing really good. I think the Indians win. Osage versus Pintos. California Pintos. I was thinking about the Puxico Indians. Kind of got mixed up there because it's the Osage Indians. Osage Indians versus California Pintos, as I go on a little rant there. Osage scoring 63.8 points per game, allowing 49.1. I got the opportunity to see them against Sullivan. I was impressed by their game flow. They play quickly. I think that's not going to sit right with California. They're going to have a hard time keeping up, so give me the Indians. Class 5 scoreboard. This is a stacked week for Class 5, let me tell you. So I'm doing a vote for my game of the week. And Camdenton versus Rolla, St. Mary's and Sykeston, and JC versus Father Tolton are 3 of the 4 games that I have listed for where I go Friday night. We'll talk about the other one during Class 6. So Camdenton versus Rolla. I like how Rolla's playing this year. I want to go see them sometime this year. They're sitting at 11-2, tied for 4th in Class 5, and they're putting up 65.5 points per game. Sykeston versus St. Mary's. St. Mary's, I thought they were going to be a little bit better this year. I really did. They're sitting at 7-6. Now they have had some pretty tough competition, and that continues because Sykeston, they're sitting at number 1 in Class 5. I believe it is a unanimous number 1. They've got all 8 coaches agreeing that they're the number 1 team in Class 5, and I concur with that. I believe that they're one of the best teams in the state. They're definitely top 3 in the state. They're averaging 78.3 points per game. You can't go wrong with that, so give me the Bulldogs. Helias versus Bolivar. Helias had a really rough start to the season. Now, they were missing some football guys. They're kind of coming in a few games into the season, like 3 or 4 games into the season, and they weren't playing perfect. I think it's starting to mesh a little bit better now for them. They're sitting at 5-7. I think they're like 2-7 at one point, so I think they're on a 3-game win streak. But Bolivar, man, they upset Nixa in the blue and gold tournament. That is the only loss for Nixa this season. Bolivar sitting at 9-3. What else do I want to tell you about them? 64.8 points per game. I think they can win it on the road over Helias. I wouldn't be surprised if that one goes the other way, though. JC versus Father Tolton. This is our Class 5 game of the week, easily. JC, they're a really good basketball team, but they haven't played some like insane competition and won. When they're playing the competition, they're kind of they're losing. So they're sitting at 9-3. That's what I'm saying. 3 losses to really good basketball teams, MICDS, Battle, and St. Mary's. And their wins are over teams like one win Warrensburg. And I think they beat Eugene as well if that game ended up happening. And that's a Class 2 team. So, like they're a good basketball team. They definitely are. They won the Grade 8 Classic on their home court. But I feel like Tolton, they're playing tough competition as well, but they're doing better with it. 7-4 right now. They've got 3 amazing players. I think Tolton, being Class 4's 4th-ranked team, 61.3 points per game. I think the Trailblazers end up winning this one. Herman, they are being hosted by St. Francis Borgia. These 2 teams are pretty good. St. Francis Borgia is coming off a win against Washington as we speak. I think they play again tonight. I'm not certain who they play. They're sitting at 9-4. Herman 9-2. But the thing that surprised me when I was looking at it, Herman's scoring 56.1 points per game. That's kind of iffy. You want to be over 60. But they're allowing 36.3 points per game. So I guess they're playing a little bit of keep away. I'm not certain. But, they're winning. So I think that's going to fare well against Borgia. So give me the Bearcats on the road. I think Herman gets it done. Willard hosting Nixa. I think you guys know how this one goes. I think 11-1 Nixa will turn 12-1. They're sitting at 8th in Class 6. They are scoring 63.8 points per game. I think the Eagles will win. Class 6 scoreboard, we got some pretty good games here as well. We'll start with Blue Springs versus Blue Springs South. This is a crazy rivalry, one of the biggest rivalries in the Kansas City area. Blue Springs South will be the team I ride with here. They're sitting at 62.2 points per game and allowing 51.5. But the big thing for me, Blue Springs South is 28-14 since 2008 against Blue Springs. Yes, those teams play that much because they're big rivals. They play any chance they can get, and it seems like Blue Springs South comes out on top a lot. So I'll take them in this one as well. Lee Summit versus Liberty North. Lee Summit, they've beat some really incredible teams like Webster Groves. They beat CBC. They beat John Burroughs. Those are 3 insane teams up in St. Louis. So I think that fares well for them. They beat some really good competition. They're 10th in Class 6, scoring 57.8 points per game. I think they'll beat Liberty North. Battle versus Rockbridge. This is big in the Columbia area. All 3 teams are good in Columbia, all 3 basketball teams. It's a little different on the football field. Rockbridge is really the only good one. But when we get to basketball, all 3 of them, man, they just trade wins and losses with each other. Battle has already beat Hickman this year. I don't remember if Rockbridge has played Hickman yet. I don't think they have. But I got the chance to see Battle last night. And, man, the pace of play with those guys is crazy. They play at the fastest pace I've ever seen. I think they're the most entertaining team I've ever seen play a game of basketball. So I think they'll beat Rockbridge. Rockbridge is obviously a really good basketball team, but Battle sitting at 6th in Class 6, they're scoring 77.9 points per game. That is crazy. So give me the Spartans. DeSmet versus Vianney is our Class 6 game of the week. 2 really great St. Louis teams. Vianney is 2nd in Class 5. DeSmet is 3rd in Class 6. I think that DeSmet will win this game. I don't want to throw any shade at Vianney. I don't mean this as a mean thing. But for the Griffins, it kind of feels like the Luke Walsh show. And obviously, he may be the best player in Missouri. But DeSmet feels like a more put-together team, like with Jordan Boyd and Riley Massey. That whole entire team, they circulate around each other. There's no, number one absolute star that takes every shot. So I do think that the Spartans will win this game. 70.6 points per game. They're allowing 43.3. So they've got really good defense. I got to see him play CBC. That's a really big rivalry, and they took care of business pretty easily. So I'm riding with the Spartans here. Carthage versus Kickapoo. I think Kickapoo wins on the road. They're sitting at 12-2, fourth in the rankings in Class 6, 61 points per game, 45.5 allowed per game. They're a really good basketball team. I think they'll take care of the Tigers. Chaminade versus CBC. Man, these two teams, man, it's fireworks when they get on the court every year. I believe they play twice every year with their conference. So this is the first meeting, I believe, between Chaminade and CBC. I think Chaminade will come out on top. They're sitting at second in Class 6, which is very impressive. And, scoring 67 points per game. CBC, they're kind of having a hard time keeping up with the really good teams this year. 5 losses. I think those are all really good teams that they're losing to. CBC's a really solid team, but I don't think that they'll be able to keep up with Chaminade. So that's all we've got for today. I have no clue where I'm going. Let's go ahead and check. So as I film this, it is 4:03. Try to get it up at 5:30, maybe 5:30 or 6. Let's go over to Instagram. Let's check the vote. So the 4 games I had up for voting were Camden versus Raleigh, St. Mary's versus Sykeston, Jeff City versus Father Tolton, and Battle versus Rockbridge. Right now, Jeff City has 50% of the votes through those 4 schools. I wouldn't be surprised if one of the other schools end up winning this one, but as of right now, it looks like they want me at JC, so I guess we'll see. But that's all we've got for today. This has been Missouri Sports Talk. We'll see you next time.